Yo, I've received the title data and I am in. And so our adventure started. For an entire 3 days, it was basically just me chopping down trees and everyone waiting to get everyone in because there were so many modding problems and Steam issues with friends lists. In day 4, once we finally got everyone in, well, everyone here is new to Calamity, so they decided to spam Ironheart and Revengeance constantly, which, you know, caused for some troubles, but eventually we got it sorted out. On day 5, we headed down into the caves to start mining and gather resources, to get a slime crown so we can spawn our first boss, and to get more prepared for our next few bosses. On day 6, we found a mushroom biome mixed in with a marble biome, which looked really funky, and I immediately spotted a chest all the way at the left corner. And when I opened it, it had an accessory in it, which gave me 5 defense, and had 2 floating swords that spawned around me that did 30 damage, which I think this might be a little overpowered for pre-hard mode, but, you know, I got it, so I'm keeping it. For the next 2 days, I popped a Splunker potion and went down to the caves to try to find some life crystals for everyone so we can increase our maximum life so we can be more prepared for our next boss. On day 9, we headed out to try and find some basic biomes like the snow biome and corruption, and maybe even the jungle if we were lucky. But immediately we found the corruption. When I went down to break some shadow orbs for some mana regen bands and other special items dropped from shadow orbs, I found this chest which contained a really interesting item called the Corruption of Pigony, which reduced our movement but increased our damage. On days 10 through 13, one of my teammates found the jungle, so we decided to head down into the underground jungle to maybe get some jungle armor for me, and then some generally useful things for the rest of the team. We explored the underground jungle for quite a while, and found some useful things like a boomstick for our Detmar ranged, and plenty of money so we can buy as much as we want at NPCs. On day 14, we headed back up to the surface to get basic equipment upgrades like better pickaxes, better armor, and better weapons. As well as that, on day 14, I popped a gravitation potion and headed directly up, and immediately we found a giant plantoid, which was protected by a weird blue circle. I don't remember seeing this whatsoever in my first 100 days solo playthrough, but you know, I'm fine with it because we found some really good loot in it, like herb bags and other useful mysterious circuitry which would be used later in the playthrough. On day 15, I explored out in an attempt to find the dungeon so I can get a water bolt. I successfully found the dungeon, but I didn't find a water bolt, and almost ended up killing our entire team by accidentally spawning a dungeon guardian. On day 16, a meteorite landed, so I headed out to try and find the meteorite. I successfully found it pretty quickly on the left side of the corruption. I went over to mine all the meteorites so I can get my final armor set for pre-hard mode. On day 17, slime started raining from the sky, so you know what that means. King Slime spawned. With King Slime, we started attacking him, but our weapons weren't doing too much damage, and he was doing quite a lot of damage to us. One problem we majorly ran into was after King Slime got to half health, his crown jewel popped out and started shooting things at us. But have no fear, we still won the battle, and we got quite good items for the stage of the game we're in. He also dropped paper tubes, which let the Goblin Tinkerer and the Tinkerer discover new things to sell, as well as upgrade tokens, which we could upgrade our weapons to make them more powerful and to make them faster in general. Then we continued to kill King Slime a few more times to get more loot so we could get the exact things that we wanted from him. On day 18, the Goblin Army started approaching, but we were underground, so there was nothing really to worry about. But we found this really big, massive, really cool looking laboratory underground with plenty of chests. The chests didn't hold too many good things, they just held basic potions, and other mysterious platings that we can use later. Although, personally, I said that the center of the lab looked really cool. So then the same day that we just killed the Goblin Army, we spawned in the Eye of Cthulhu. The main thing that we were trying to get from him is the counter scarf, which basically just led us to dodge through enemies' attacks, which really helped out. It wasn't really big of a problem, but we killed it pretty fast because of our teammate's star cannon. On day 19, I basically spent the entire day building a really big house so we could suit many NPCs, because our original little stone house wasn't doing very well with the 32 possible NPCs we can get in this game. And real quick, before we continue the video, I just want to say, please, if you haven't already, subscribe. It really helps out. And the last 100 days video that I did went completely viral, and when I'm currently editing this, it has 2,400 views, and I got 80 subscribers off of it. So if we're able to break that, then that would be crazy. Also, the like goal for this video is going to be 125. That's 3 more than my current 100 days video has. So if we can get that, that'd be absolutely insane. Thanks. On day 23, I went into the magical mod called Magical Storage. And if you are trying to play modded with your friends or even alone, I truly amazingly recommend this mod. It's so useful, and it just makes storage so much simpler. On day 25, we finally put some research into the first modded boss in Calamity called the Desert Scourge. He was a giant worm that we used a desert medallion to spawn in this desert biome. Don't ask why we took this long to finally even start to research about him, but you know, we decided to just take our time on it. On day 26, we headed over to the desert and decided to finally defeat our first modded boss, the Desert Scourge. The Desert Scourge didn't pose a very big of a threat because this boss, in my opinion at least, is an absolute joke. It was so easy that we even did another boss right after it, which we called the Cuphead boss because it included so much dodging, which for some reason I was actually not half bad at dodging it. On day 27, we found this really cool underwater biome which had the mini boss that we need to fight called the Giant Clam. The Giant Clam didn't pose that big of a threat, but the entire time I was just looking at the biome because it looked so cool, and the center in the middle looked even better. On day 28, we fought another Cuphead boss, but this time they had pretty cool attack patterns. In my opinion, this was probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite boss we fought so far. Even though we've only fought a few bosses, this boss in general was just like extremely fun to do. And it was pretty easy at the same time, so it didn't take too much effort. Anyway, it dropped some pretty mid things, not anything too notable or good, and nothing that we would probably use. On day 29, we just did basic preparations like make a simple arena for the next boss fight we're going to do against a boss called Crabulon. On day 30, we decided to go back down into the corruption to go ahead and smash some more shadow orbs to spawn the next major vanilla boss called the Eater of Worlds. Once we smashed the final shadow orb, he spawned, and then it was my job to lead him all the way up from the underground corruption to the surface. I got a little low at times, but somehow my summon did quite a lot of damage to the Eater, and it was basically a cakewalk from there, because all of our bullets and weapons did a really big amount of damage to the Eater of Worlds because he was a worm type. Killing the Eater of Worlds also gave us a giant step in progression, because now we can mine more things, and in general just have more spawns in the corruption, so now we can fight the Hive Mind, the next major modded boss. Today is the day that I just genuinely feel bad for this boss. This is one of the coolest looking bosses in Calamity, extremely well made art wise, but he's also one of the worst bosses in Calamity. This boss is rivaling King Slime level. No, probably lower than King Slime. I would even go as far as lower than Golem, because he's just so incredibly easy to kill. I don't even need to cut any of the footage because, as you can see, how fast we absolutely shredded him. Like, I didn't even realize that he was alive, and he drops pretty decent stuff. So, Calamity, just saying, you should probably buff him, because if this is Revengeance mode expert, then I don't want to know what classic mode, non-Revengeance mode looks like. On day 33, we decide to fight Hive Mind. This boss was major in progression for continuing on in the game, and if you don't remember last time I did 100 days in Terraria, it took me, I'm pretty sure, 5 days to kill this boss, because my weapon was doing 1 tick of damage per shot. I'm not quite sure why, because this boss refighting it is so much easier. I don't know what I was doing wrong, but it's probably because I was outside of the corruption for 90+% of the fight. On day 34, we didn't do much interesting things. We just made a stadium and prepared for fighting the Queen Bee. On day 35, we spawned in Queen Bee. Queen Bee, there wasn't many interesting or notable things about the boss, except for it dashed a lot and Dimitri died 5 times? But anyway, we eventually defeated it, and it was a pretty productive day. For the next couple days, we just looked at all the bosses we could fight and which to fight first and how to prepare for them. On day 38, I went out mining and found this weird obsidian-looking chest from the Calamity mod, and found a mount called the Onyx Excavator Key. This mount, to say the least, I'm pretty sure it's a little broken at this stage of the game that it's it. Like, look at this thing. It kind of mines a little fast, but, you know, I kept it. It's in the Calamity mod, so it's technically allowed. And on day 39, I pulled out the Onyx Excavation Key and started mining to get us all of the new ores that we just unlocked. On day 41, one of our teammates found this really cool looking underground laboratory, and it doesn't look like all of the other ones we found. It's in this weird biome under the sandstone biome. On day 41, slime has been raining from the sky for quite a while, and then King Slime spawned again. It was, I don't know how to put it, but very sad, because as you can see his health bar, I can't see the health bar either, because at this stage of the game we probably shouldn't be doing this much damage. And on day 42, we headed back up to the sky using a gravitational potion to find more valuable things hidden to the Sky Islands. We also wanted to find the Crimson biome Sky Island, so we can spawn in the Perforator, the opposite version of the Hive Mind and the Crimson variant. And then once we finally found the Crimson biome Sky Island, I started destroying the house on it and mined out all the Crimtane ore so we can flatten it out so the Perforators can spawn faster. And then on day 43, once I finally built out the entire platform, I was just sitting there walking back and forth waiting for a Perforator assist to spawn. But little did I know, I completely did it wrong, and eventually gave up to go ahead and build it manually. On day 43, we spawned Crabulon back in and decided to bully him for some money, because for some reason, apparently our entire team is broke except for me. Didn't really know that, but surprising. And once again, watching Crabulon's health go down is more sad than the King Slime, because Crabulon this time is completely defenseless. On day 45, we went over to our Old Ones Army Stadium and spawned in the Old Ones Army using the Ether Crystal. This was pretty easy because my firebolt bounced back and forth from both sides and also had a little bit of piercing. And then we went on to our Crimson Island to spawn in the Brain of Cthulhu. We're quite far past the Brain of Cthulhu as a boss, but we wanted to fight him anyway because he was on our boss checklist mod, and, you know, we can't just have an empty slot there forever. On day 47, I went out and bought some Crimtane blocks from our builder NPC, which made it a lot easier to find a Perforator assist to spawn the Perforators. But the only giant problem is that for some reason, my teammates were constantly fighting a boss, so nothing spawned, but eventually we found the Perforators and killed him. On day 49, all I did was just expand our giant arena above our house to prepare for the next few bosses, because the bosses after this started getting a little bit harder. Day 50 was a giant day for progression. First, we spawned in Skeletron, and Skeletron unlocks all sorts of stuff. He unlocks the dungeon and everything else. The Skeletron battle was also very difficult. He was one of the first actual semi-difficult bosses, but because of our numbers, we almost easily took him down. Also, it's day 50, so that means it's halfway through the episode. So, I'm going to remind you to hit the like button. Last time I did one of these type of episodes, we destroyed the like button and got over 100 likes. So if we can get over 100 likes on this episode, I can assure you that there will be another 100 days of this series. Anyway, we killed Skeletron with quite ease, and it was actually an enjoyable boss fight. And he unlocked a ton of things for us, the dungeon and everything else alongside it. On day 51, we went into the dungeon to get all of the gold chests and other loot that we can get from the mobs there. We ended up getting quite good stuff from the gold chest and other useful things that would help us later to make really powerful weapons. On day 54, I went down to the sulfuric sea because after we looted the golden chest in the dungeon, we got a shadow key. So that means we can access all of the new and powerful loot hidden in the sunken sea. On day 55, we went down into the dungeon again to explore it more and get more bones, because for a lot of the crafting recipes that we needed a ton of bones. The next day, we just looked in the boss checklist to see the next boss before the Wall of Flesh. The only boss remaining was the Soul Harvester, and he's a mini-boss that then becomes a boss, and he spawned in the dungeon at any time of day. And then we went down into the dungeon to make an arena for the Soul Harvester. The Soul Harvester is a quite small boss, so we made a small arena to go along with it. On day 60, we finally spawned in the Soul Harvester. This boss is extremely confusing and took actually multiple days to defeat because we didn't understand him whatsoever. So, when you first initially spawn in the boss, it just spawns in this little idol thing that you can see right to the left of the painting. And then once you break it, it spawns in a weird looking bird that eats souls. You get souls from killing mobs in the dungeon, and when you kill the mobs in the dungeon, as you can see, little souls appear and they float towards the idol. Once the idol gets 10 souls, the actual boss awakens, and this took us so long to realize. You can also catch the souls using a bug net, and when you catch them you can make various things from the mod that the souls are from. But eventually we killed it. Didn't really get anything else from it, but we got the souls, which could be valuable later. And then for the next 10 days, we worked on a Wall of Flesh arena, because all I knew and all I remembered was that he goes fast. And I didn't exactly know how fast or when he went fast. All I remember is that it was in random intervals and kinda didn't want to die from him. So we made the largest arena and went from one side of hell to the other side. This actually did take 10 days, and we died probably in the triple digits amount of times, and it wasn't too fun, so I'm just gonna skip over most of it and just put a little bit in. I also forgot to add, but because we went this giant trip across hell, it actually benefited us in a giant way, because we found the Brimstone biome, which we fought later endgame bosses in, and could get awesome ores from. We also found a giant laboratory, didn't exactly know what it did, so we left it for a while. On day 75, we took a break from exploring the bridge and went into that giant lab we found. In there, we found a 20,000 damaging weapon, but we couldn't use the weapon at the stage of the game we're at. We needed to wait quite a while to be able to use the weapon. In fact, we needed to wait till the second to last boss to use it. And even then, people say it's not very useful. So we kept it anyway, and of course we gave it to our rogue class because our melee class isn't exactly active on the server whatsoever. And, you know, rogue throws boomerangs, melee sometimes throws boomerangs, so it must work, right? And then right after that, we found a giant ball of fire or something, and it did a ton of damage when we were even relatively close to it. And we weren't exactly sure what it was, still not sure what mod it's from, but when you touch the ball of fire, it does an insane amount of damage. And then we decided, well, nukes can blow up almost anything, right? So, as the amazing people we are, well, we nuked the sun. I don't know how else to put it, but now the sun is kind of just a crater, and yeah. The next day we went down to the mushroom biome and, well, decided to kill Crabulon again. Why? That's what I'm asking as well, because there is absolutely no point of killing this boss. We have killed him countless times, don't need to kill him. All I know is that I'm pretty sure we just wanted to set new world records and kill Crabulon on a spawn kill or something. On day 78, after bullying Crabulon for an entire day, we headed back up to the surface, and then a blood moon happened. These are still useful at the stage of the game we're at, because we need a ton of blood orbs for later on in the game, and crafting recipes for even currently. So this was a big help, and it really improved our progression and prepared us to fight the Wall of Flesh. On day 79 through 82, we just prepared for hard mode. This meant digging out a giant hole so we can spawn in new hard mode enemies and get loot from them easier and quicker. We also hollowed out a giant area where I predicted the hollowed to be, and I was actually quite close, but it was in the middle of the jungle, so I guess it counts as a Plantera arena as well. And then we filled in some lines on it so we can spawn in mimics, and this was extremely useful once we got into hard mode. And then for the next few days, we prepared for the Wall of Flesh fight. This meant get as many things as possible, clear out areas, get potions, and fully equipped ourselves with the best possible accessories, armor, and weapons that we could get at the stage of the game that we're at. We also finished off a couple bosses that we needed exclusive drops from, like 2.5% drops. And yes, we bullied the crap out of more bosses than just Crabulon, but I'm pretty sure no one will ever beat the record for the Crabulon world record in pre-hard mode. Right before we were going to spawn in the Wall of Flesh, we actually remembered that one of our teammates needed a ton of things from the ice biome, so he forced us to go down and clear out a giant area for him. This took actually a long time, because when I mean a giant area, I mean larger than the sun we saw earlier. And bombs couldn't just do it themselves, so we had to mine out a ton as well. And then finally, on day 92, we spawned in the Wall of Flesh. This was an actual horrifying fight, because as you can see, we weren't doing too much damage. That is until the Star Cannon kid came out and absolutely rolled the Wall of Flesh. But in general, this fight was actually semi-difficult, because a lot of people died during it, and had to teleport back using wormholes. Honestly, I believe if we didn't have wormholes, then we would have lost this fight. It also came just down to the wire, so we almost died as well. I also found out when he speeds up. If you get off of his screen, then in fact, he kind of just comes up and says, no, I'd rather be on your screen. So whoever he was targeting had to stay in his view no matter what. And conveniently enough, he was targeting the summoner, so it was pretty hard for him to dash around, especially because the Wall of Flesh arena honestly wasn't that good. It was just a long platform across hell with a very high roof. So we couldn't do much against it, but we ended up defeating him successfully, and it was honestly a faster fight than I thought it would have been. But that means we finally got into hard mode. With this, we realized that we got nothing we needed from the Wall of Flesh, and had to fight him countless more times because none of us got the emblems that we wanted, and plus we need more emblems if we wanted to make Avenger emblems and everything following those. And for the next few days after the Wall of Flesh fight, we just took a breather and looked at all of the bosses that were up and coming, and all of the super duper cool bosses from the Calamity mod and other mods surrounding it. This is quite a big achievement. We were 95 days in. That means only 5 days remaining in the entirety of the episode and the first 100 days. On days 96 through 98, we refought the Wall of Flesh countless times, and then reforged our accessories that we got to the maximum possible we could get. And then for some reason, some people didn't get Demon Hearts from the Wall of Flesh, so that's also another reason that was crucial for us to refight him multiple times. And then on day 99, we went down to the corruption to see if it spread, and if so, how far it spread. And we also went down to destroy as many demon altars as possible so we can have the easiest time getting all of the new hard mode ores that were available to us. And then on day 100, we just re-explored the entire world to find where the hollow biome was. Sadly, the hollow biome was extremely small, so that means we had to manually make one or spread it faster. We also had to check if the corruption on the right side of the world spread to the jungle. Anyway, that means you made it through all 100 days. So, that's pretty cool. Also, if you did watch this video all the way through, then please make sure you're subscribed, and don't forget to like and turn on notifications so you can see when the next 100 days comes out. Anyway, I hope you had a wonderful time watching, and peace.